Zenith, real quick, what were you saying? How excited were you, like, that WaLLrus was on the stream and all that stuff? Like, you're really excited about that, right?
WaLLrus is the longest stream that this channel has, but it is also my personal favorite and also the most viewed video on the channel. WaLLrus has actually been like really great for the community. Oh, don't do this to me. You're gonna...
What are you talking about?
I don't know. What am I talking about? Holy shit!
My ears were burning. What's up, man?
Brother, what's going on?
What's going on, man?
WaLLrus in the house, baby.
What's up, WaLLrus?
What's up, brother?
Why would you guys do this to me? You set me up. Set me up.
Oh.
No, go ahead. Go finish, Zenith.
Yeah, finish, bro. Please, feel free. Finish.
Keep waxing poetically about me, man. I appreciate it. I'm feeling a little tall today.
Oh, hey, WaLLrus, what's going on, man? You're catching a flight tomorrow, right? You all ready for that trip? What do you got going on this weekend?
I'll be right back.
Yeah, man. Yeah, pretty. He says so betrayed. Yeah, man. Like I said, I appreciate y'all give me a quick holler, man. It's cool to come hang out, shout at everybody, man. Yeah, like that stream that that we all did. Man, there was so much time and effort put in by you guys on that. That was super cool, man. It was a lot goes into that, man. Like especially something as long as that one was. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm gonna fly out. There's the Cardone and a bunch of those guys, Scott Melker and some of those big guys that matter and stuff like that. They're going to be down in Florida, so I'm going to go down and party with them tomorrow, and then I'll be back the following day back in Dallas to hang out with all the Pulse Chain guys up there with the CZ and everybody in Dallas.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome, dude. That is so awesome. Yeah, bro, we cannot tell you how much, I know Nate, I know Tracker, they put in a lot of work. Those guys are crushing it. But, y'all's video, that has surpassed any other video that we've published since our channel's been live, dude. And we cannot thank you for the effort that you've put in and just, the outreach that you've shown in our chat specifically. Just the whole thing around our community, bro. We cannot thank you enough.
Hey, of course, man. Like content creators are everything. You know what I mean? So anyone that can help out anybody, build up these channels, get some audience, all that kind of stuff. Not only just, you guys are cool, man. The chat's a lot of fun hanging out and everyone in there. But man, you got to support content creators, man. It's the only way to get this stuff out when it comes to crypto.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that I've been kind of looking at, right? It's kind of like future, as far as like content creators go, thinking about into the future. One of the things that I personally went through in my 2-year span of just being exit liquidity is a lot of the content creators are basically just shillers, right? And they tend to lead people down like bad paths. Well, I find myself in a position now where I've gotten past that. I've taken my L's, right? LLs. And so now I'm in that position where it's like, okay, I can be one of those guys to be like, don't do that, what I did, right? And here's the kind of the direction that I would suggest doing. Not financial advice, but that's also a mindset you have to be in,
It's just a part of everyone's, right? The shilling stuff, part of the reason that again, you get all the natural pump, gain, rush, dopamine, all that kind of stuff. The other part is that the rest of it doesn't make any sense, right? Like, when you're first getting crypto, I'm like, hey, check out this admin key, free decentralized stable. You're like, what's that do? Oh, but the price doesn't move? Well, who cares? You just move on, right? Like it just doesn't hit the brain, So you almost have to go through the shill, that kind of, everyone kind of has their version of, the 2017 ICO craze, some variation of it, and you just have to before the stuff starts to sink in. I've talked a lot about when I, first got into Bitcoin. It wasn't, some sophisticated investment thesis. I was like, oh, cool. You can buy guns and drugs. Bitcoin's awesome. That was it. It was that silly. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think twice about it, and, just over time and progression, you kind of get to be a part of everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? You do have a point. So I suppose you need to identify exactly what you mean by shilling, right? So like, when you're talking about shilling, you're like, hey, this is something that can really help you for life and everything. It's actually really good for you, blah, blah, blah. Versus this type of shilling I'm talking about, which is like pump my own bags, please.
Yeah.
Right? It's like kind of like what with Tracker and I did with you, right? The idea was like, hey, we're looking at this and we love it. we think this is a very good way for people to, and us, going into it, right? To be able to make money and then become free. It's one of those ways that you would go into it. I want to promote this because that's what we feel about it, looking at it. So we started diving into it very, very closely, right? And then the more and more we talk about it, the more and more it's like, you know what, this is an even better idea as we're going. That's when something is really good. Versus, what is it? You go into Coom Rocket or whatever, and the more and more you talk about it, you're like, yeah, what is this thing actually? Other than a joke for the IRS,
and the other part of the extension is the longer you're in crypto, the more you want to use these tools. It's really the same as any other type of investing or kind of financial tools and assets. Until you have like a certain bag, sophistication, strategy and plan. Like if you're just trying to throw 10 grand around, like you don't need some private trust that you're going to run through Singapore. It's like, okay, who cares, man? Like you got 10 grand, like go make some money, right? So it takes all these things to get those stages along before the real cool aspects of DeFi really start to ring true.
And do you mind, Zenith, do you have something because I actually have a little bit of a pivot away from this subject, but
no, you're good. I was just going to jump in and say, like, yeah, the first time around, you may look at some crypto items. You don't exactly understand what exactly they're for, or like who the audience is. And it's the why. Like, you can read a white paper and understand the mechanics of things, but until you understand why things are created, you're not really going to get the full grasp. For example, I originally got into Hex and I was looking at it and I was like, this is fantastic. I looked at Hedron and Icosa. And I was like, okay, the point of Hex is to lock up money over time. And then I looked at Hedron and Icosa and I was like, oh, these guys are trying to like rob people of like exit liquidity. And they're like, oh, so you're trying to lock up Hex, but then allow them to sell it off instantly. And I thought it was like a negative play on Hex, but I didn't understand what was going on because I was thinking like game theory wise, like attempted to try to apply that and be like, all right, someone created a product, someone else is trying to like take value out of it. I didn't understand that they all work together. You don't know these things until you go through a second time and you really understand what the ecosystem looks like.
I got something real quick.
Go for it.
Just a quick question. Zenith, were you a little starstruck there, buddy?
I'm not gonna lie, a little bit. WaLLrus, it is a pleasure to meet you, my friend. You are.
You got a little wine glass and everything too.
It is. I was going to ask. Well, what are you sipping on over there? By the way, it looks
man.
fantastic.
What do you have tonight? What do you got?
Man, I'm a huge fan of the high proof Wild Turkey stuff. So that's Wild Turkey Rare Breed.
Shoot,
Nice.
Moonpill Optics was in here earlier talking about Wild Turkey as well. So it must be some good stuff.
Yeah, it's one of those things that like whenever you like first start drinking like whiskeys and stuff, like most people are like you see some like 101, and if you like look at like cheaper stuff, that you're just like, oh great, just gonna get tanked quicker. But when you drink decent stuff, like high proof actually like kind of brings out some of the extra stuff. So a lot of stuff actually tastes better when you get used to like a higher proof. So yeah, like Wild Turkey stuff is way underrated. It just sounds country as hell because it's called Wild Turkey. But like Wild Turkey 101 is really good for basic stuff, and then their Rare Breed. That to me is that balance between like that's good stuff, and then you can get into like really pricey, neat stuff. But like, man, when it comes to like, hey, I just want something that's good and it really fits my taste palette, man, Wild Turkey Rare Breed's it's a hitter.
Oh, I feel you. Shoot, my 21st birthday, one of my buddies took me out to the bar and he ordered me a double of Maker's Mark neat. And Fresh Me was just like, oh my God, what is this jet fuel? And then I was just like so taken aback. Even the bartender was like, you want me to make that into something drinkable for you? And I was like, yeah, sure. Only later did I realize how much fun she was making of me, but it is what it is.
Yeah, real quick, this is like a fun tangent, man. When you look at things like the HSI stakes, this is similar to a lot of derivatives or like Grayscale, and that you're actually right though. They are negative to Hex. It just depends on how you're measuring and when you're measuring, because derivatives are positive and negative. It just depends on when you're measuring, right? So when you have like added utility and they're at a premium, they're pulling up the market. There's extra market, exposure, impact, utility. But then there's times where when there's a discount, just like we see now with Grayscale, So like, let's say that HSIs are 20% off kind of their face value. Again, I honestly don't think that we've really found good pricing yet on HSIs. There's some that are kind of like bonds or these different things. But if the HSIs, let's just say that they're 20% cheaper than face value. Well, for then until you get back to something closer to kind of like NAV pricing on it, they're negative, right? Like, because why am I going to come buy Hex on market? I can go buy an HSI stake. So any of those derivatives, they ebb and flow. They kind of oscillate around. So it depends on when you're measuring. Now, over the length of time forever, HSIs are awesome. Alex killed it. There's all kinds of cool stuff. There's added complexity, more value, all the cool stuff. But what is one of the things I really like about derivatives is when some people are like, oh, well, they're net negative. It's like, yeah, depending on when you measure, because there will be phases where they are negative on price. But again, overall, they're super beneficial. They add complexity to the ecosystem, all kinds of neat stuff. And the HSI tech is super underrated.
Yeah, for sure. The ability to have the Hex stake instances and then even getting them auctioned off, that's creating new utility for another chain. So even though it might be negative, it's adding extra functionality, which in and of itself is a positive.
Yep.
Hey, Zenith, quick question for you.
What's up, brother?
All right. Hey, and this is completely unrelated, okay? What was that shout out that you were giving to Sloth?
You mean the man that was dropping knowledge on me? God damn.
What's up, gentlemen?
What's up,
How
dude?
you doing? What's going on, brother?
Doing great. Thanks for having me up again. WaLLrus, good to see you, buddy.
What's up, man? I didn't even know the Sloth was coming, man. I got one dropped on me too, Zenith.
I didn't know either. This is a surprise to me
I
as
got
well.
Twice.
What's up, Sloth?
What's up? I don't know what this coin, this Zenith guy's talking about, but it sounds like a grift. I wouldn't touch it, honestly.
Total grifters.
Only for brokies. If you hate money, like, you know.
Yeah. What's
Sloth,
up, guys?
what?
Good to
It was
see-
the Atropa guys who built Hedron, right?
I think so. Yeah, that sounds about right to me.
Yeah. And if you get enough Hedron, you can peg PDI.
Man, I think I have
That's
some
the dream.
redeeming to do. I didn't realize I could get some extra utility out of my tokens. Thanks, WaLLrus.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. All you got to do is just buy about $100 worth of P-Dye, and that $100 will be worth $1 million in like 1 year. It's just fine.
That's it.
Cool. I'm cool with that trade.
Hey, Sloth, real quick. Sloth, what are you
Yeah.
drinking on, buddy? You got anything you're drinking on right now?
Sparkling water.
Okay. All right. Hey.
All right. That's a good
Fantastic.
choice.
I like it.
Fantastic.
Hey,
Some more
WaLLrus,
responsible than us.
WaLLrus, real quick, bud. If you need to take off whenever you need to, bud, I know you got a flight. I just
Yeah.
thank you again for hopping on. But hang out
sure.
for as long as you want. If you need to pop off, do your thing, man.
No, I'm good, brother. I appreciate it. I got like 10 minutes, so especially now that we got everybody up here. Yeah, I'll sit tight as long as I can, and I'll jet out here in a minute.
That sounds
If you
good.
don't
That
mind,
sounds
I
good.
do have a question for WaLLrus.
Yeah.
So I saw your recommendation of The Giver in the Telegram chat. I wanted to ask, what's the point that you think people should take from that book?
So I think it gets really weird. I'm just a big fan of like what I would call like altered states, new perspectives. I just think that when people kind of break, I mean, I don't want to get too like Andrew Tate and say like the Matrix, but we're just so okay with the way things are framed. And so I like things that kind of like challenge something and just make you phrase something different, right? So if I'm like, hey, do you think something should be illegal? Someone might go, yeah, because we're comfortable with that. But if I say, hey, do you think that people you don't know with guns should be able to go grab that person and lock them in a cage away from their family for that? Like, that sounds psychotic. I just said the same thing. That's what illegal means, right? Now, again, I'm not trying to get that dramatic about everything, but I like those things where you have to like really like understand what it is you're saying and framing that way. So with The Giver, it's the whole trade-off they have is basically like on emotions and these memories versus sort of a utopia, and it's just one of those things like, would you really want to give it up? And I just think it makes you kind of like, when you ask the question, you just kind of explore some interesting space.
Yeah, you talking about The
That's
Giver?
fair.
That book?
We are.
Yeah.
What you
That's
got?
a great book. I love that one.
Yeah.
I do think it's, when the first time that I read it, I didn't quite understand what it meant. So for a brief synopsis, it's basically there's a society where people are very detached from like the family unit and whatnot. And then also there is this one very special role where it is a person who inherits the memories of like past generations. And that's where they really learn about the horrors of humanity. But in so, learning about the hordes of humanity also expands your emotional range so that you can understand things like love and camaraderie. And for me at the time, I'll be honest, I thought it was because the girl I was dating was trying to get me to understand that I need to share my emotions more. And I was like, I don't know about that one. But looking back at it now, upon second review, thanks to WaLLrus, it's really about the idea of if you have a society that is so homogenized to glorifying the idea of sameness, the idea that you can understand things that are outside of the common perception has significant value. So specifically in a time like this where everyone might be hypnotized by mainstream media, there could be some significant value in being able to take a step back, look at the reality as a whole, and really understand what's going on. That's at least where I'm getting at it with this one.
Yeah, I make the joke now, and I kind of said it out of like kind of flip it, and now I'm realizing I'm like, man, that thought was like strong. Most people don't back away from crypto because they don't understand it. It's because when they start playing with crypto, they realize they don't understand anything. Like it's not where does Bitcoin get its value? That's not what bothers people. It's when you turn and say, where does the dollar get its value? Now they're uncomfortable. And so that's where I think some of these framing things where they just make you challenge even something small, whether it can be done through, art or any of this cool stuff. And obviously, for all of us, a lot of it's money, freedom, kind of, 2A, red meat, whatever your vibe is on just, being able to do things you want. But you kind of got to kind of find ways to challenge people's thinking somehow to kind of snap them out of it, wherever it is, right? It usually starts with one thing and it evolves from there.
Absolutely. I even had a little bit of a thought today. I was thinking about like certain things that I wanted to sell in my life. Notably, Crypto Boogie has inspired me to get rid of my motorcycle because my life is worth more than just a cheap thrill. So I was thinking about what is this motorcycle worth in terms of like fiat money? And it's like there's a barrier between going between these two hard currencies, which is you can pay money for an object, but then trying to go object back to money, there's kind of like this fee you have to pay, which is like it's an impermanent loss, so to speak, of like I had this thing, it devalued, now it's worth less. This fiat is also worth more. And I was just thinking about like this is the crypto experience in honesty. It's just no one has really ever thought about it in this way, which is you just assume that these things happen. But now that you see actually what's going on, you can actually look and see which parts of your life translate into the certain parts of the world that we've built on blockchain.
With that, actually, I got a question for Sloth. So something that I've kind of thought about for a little bit with you is you are currently, it's dentistry. Am I correct about that?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So you're in the crypto space now, clearly in the RH ecosystems. Let's go ahead and say, it goes to the moon and all that. And now you've got like, say, $10 million, right? Okay. So you're looking at that. What is your, right? But what is the, where are you going to go with that? Is this something where like you would take those funds and for the crypto funds, right, with all the work you've done there, and are you going to like move it into your own practice, or like kind of what's the deal with that? Like how are you transferring your college experience with work, so to say, when you technically have enough money to not need to work?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it's not work anymore. If I do decide to open my own practice or maybe do like more philanthropical stuff with my dental skills, that's just because I want to do it and that's the impact that I want to have in the world, right? Like at that point, I have the freedom to use my time to make whatever impact that I want. In terms of like, getting more deeper to the question with like the tension between like my IRL stuff that I'm doing and then like the crypto brand and business that I'm building as well too. Truthfully, I don't know which direction it's going to go. I have no idea. It could go either direction, and I'm open to it going either way. I'm just going to keep building on both paths as long as it makes sense. And once the time and the path, once the time comes and the path that I should be taking solely becomes more obvious, then that's when I'll be ready to make the jump. But until then, it still just makes sense to do both, and I can see myself doing both right now.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
Boom, baby. And that is the fucking goal right there, is to be able to work and do something that is your passion versus something that you have to do for money. And look, that's the goal right there. And you're living the dream, Sloth, and
I
you're a walking
appreciate that.
example of it, and that's awesome. And
Well, that's kind of you to say. You know, it sounds all nice and stuff, but it's taken a lot of you know, inner growth and like inner work to be able to kind of get to where I'm at today. And by no reason like am I in like you know, this amazing place. There's still a lot of work to do mentally, and then like in the real world too. But you know, that's life. You know, you take it one day at a time, and slowly I have been becoming more comfortable with just being okay with where I'm at today and not putting so much pressure on myself to be in some other place that I think I should be.
Nope.
Dude, that's that mindset right there. What was that?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask one quick question because I know WaLLrus and I know Sloth, y'all's time is valuable. Again, you guys pop off whenever you need to. Thank you so much for hopping on. It's awesome. If you guys want to continue, please do. But WaLLrus, I want to ask you a question, and then Sloth, you as well. Have you guys ever experienced a starstruck moment? Have you guys, or was this sort of the first time that you've experienced a starstruck moment from somebody?
No, I've had a couple, man. I ran into oddly enough, I have no idea how these guys end up being my favorite, but there's 2 or 3 Cuban boxers who were like my favorite. So I really like Yuriokis or now I got okay. So Gamboa, Lara, and Guillermo Rigondeaux, all 3 of those Cuban guys are all big fans of mine. And one time we were coming back from DC, and my brother was like, "Bro, I'm pretty sure that's Gamboa." And I was just teasing him. I'm like, "Come on, man. I know you're in DC. Not everybody here is famous." So, yeah, I'm just roasting my brother, right? We're hanging out. And he's like, "Stop playing, man. I'm telling you, that's him." And I'm like, "Where'd he go?" He's like, "Oh, he walked around this corner." I'm like, "All right, whatever." So we kind of go back on, and he just tasked me again in a couple minutes. He's like, "Dude, that's Gamboa." And I look over, and there is this short guy in this like velvet suit sitting next to what looks like El Chapo's mistress. And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Gamboa, man. And we went over and said what's up to him. Anyway, he was really laid back, man. And then he yelled at the pretty girl to like hold the phone, and she was getting snotty, and he was like, "Hey." They said, "What's up? Take the picture." It was just, man, it was hilarious, man. So we were, I got a cool picture with him. So yeah, I've had a couple of those cool ones, man. That was one of those where I was like, yeah, that's the Fireball, man. That's Yuriokis Gamboa, man. So there's some fun ones.
Yeah, I haven't really met too many people that like I'm huge fans of, but I was a big swimmer back in the day in high school and college, and when I was a kid, I met Michael Phelps, and that was the first time I was a little bit like, he's like, "Oh my God," I couldn't like speak for a second. So yeah, that was probably mine.
Hey, he's a Baltimore boy too. I remember when he was going through all the Olympics and stuff like that.
NBAC.
Yeah, I mean,
yep.
We had stuff plastered all over the billboards up here.
Oh,
man.
I bet. You know, I used to live in Baltimore for a little bit.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. We'll talk offline. I'll send you a message or something like that.
Cool, man.
But cool. But yeah, you guys please continue. But again, thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm gonna hop out. Hey, thanks for having me up. I appreciate it. WaLLrus is good to see you. I feel like I always catch you around the streams, and at some point we're gonna get one together, man.
We'll lock it up, brother. Yeah. Me, you, and Axis, man. We'll get together and get real weird.
Oh, it's gonna be a fun time. I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, before you go, Sloth, thank you so much for jumping in on my book club stream. I really appreciate that. You dropped some serious knowledge on some folks, and it was fantastic.
Oh, wait, when? What?
It was like I think it was last Friday. Yeah. Last Friday. The main point that you dropped, though, is I mentioned the idea that I had a little bit of FOMO when I was looking back at past markets that I had not been involved in, and I was like, man, I wish I was there because I was there. And then you said, well, I'm going to try to summarize this. You said that like you think that it was so good then, but that was only the people that made it. If you were in there at the time, you had no idea which way it was going.
Yep, that's pretty much it. The way I frame it in my head is like you know, the only reason you wish that you got in early before is because you know it went up later, right? Like that's the only reason you feel that way is because you know what happened afterwards. But and then the second thing I said, I think, and I'm remembering now more, it's like you have to accept being late today to be early tomorrow. So like if you ever want to experience those gains, at some point you just have to accept other people that got in before you. There's uncertainty now, and you're just gonna have to ride the wave wherever it goes afterwards.
My man, that is like some of the best advice I've heard in crypto when it comes to the mental sphere. Like that's it right there.
The hindsight curse.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Hey, it was good to see you.
All right, Sloth. Hey, appreciate it, man.
Thanks a lot for jumping in, guys.
All right, WaLLrus, you heading out too, buddy? Or you hanging out for a minute?
Yeah. I was just gonna say, man, Zenith is good to link up, guys. You guys are putting in a ton of work, bringing on fun people, man, doing cool shows. So I hope your guys' channel really grows. I'll catch all y'all in the channel and all that, or the the big group chat all of us have, the Telegram room. And man, yeah, I just appreciate all the extra work, man. Like there's just, you want all these different voices, you know what I mean? Like all this different content stuff. I've told the story a few times, but there was a Hexakin that I met in, I'm pretty sure it was one of the Vegas trips. He was there. And he was like, hey, can I say something? I was like, yeah, of course, man. And he goes, you're not my favorite Hexakin. I was like, all right, we didn't have to whisper that, asshole. I'm just teasing. He kind of said it kind of funny. I knew it was building up to something. So I was like, all right, cool, man. Good to know. He goes, but I can recommend you to a lot of people that I can't recommend my favorite Hexakins to. And I was like, okay. He goes, you're just professional. You don't really cuss, X, Y, Z. You keep it together and it's just professional. And I was like, oh, I get it. And so even his point was, hey, you're not my favorite flavor, but I still appreciate the voice. You know what I mean? You talk to a certain group of people. I'm pretty sure that he was, I know he was in the medical field. I think that he had something to do with like a big HMO group or something along those lines. But that's the thing, right? Like I've got I've stole it from Gene Hoffman, the cyberpunk and sport coat kind of vibe, but we want different flavors, right? Like that's the reason I come here. I'm a little loose. We hang out, we drink a little whiskey, but when I go out and do, stand in front of everyone, I put on more of that, that more kind of a corporate feel, just because, that's naturally my field. And there's not too much of that in the community. So we want all the voices, man. We want everyone's different flavor, different vibe, bring the audiences in and find a way to resonate with other people. So I appreciate all the work y'all are putting in on the channel, man.
Love it, man.
Thanks
Appreciate
a lot,
it. Thank you
WaLLrus.
so much.
Yep. All right, Zenith, be safe, man. You can thank chocolate for the surprises.
Much appreciated, my man. It was great to meet you, and you're already in competition for the person that has gotten me to spend the most on books so far. I've already gotten all the recommendations, and they will be coming.
Very cool, man. Very cool. All right, man. Y'all be safe, and I'll try to do some work for y'all over the week.
All right, bro.
Have
Have a good one.
Later, guys.